I am a lifelong resident of Washingtonville. I pretty much still live in the same house I grew up in. My parents built this house in, I'd say, about 1960s when they came here from Italy. I grew up downstairs with my family, and then when I got married, I moved upstairs. It's a two-family house, so I never left. So I've lived here my entire life.
The village of Mamaroneck was a big family. We knew everyone. My neighbors have been my same neighbors. I am 57 years old. I have not ever had a new neighbor.
You went to your house, their house. It was just one big family. Nobody cared if you were rich, you were poor, if you had no shoes, it was just one big family.
I didn't actually grow up in Washingtonville. A lot of my family did. We established our electrical business there, and we've been running it there for the past 40 years on Northrop Avenue.
I was actually grew up on Center Street, which is 2 blocks over, where my dad and my mom lived for years. And then we moved about 4 blocks over. We went real far, and and the same issues.
I remember in the early 70s, when I was at Mamaroneck Avenue School, I remember my dad coming to pick me up from school. He was in waist-deep water, and he would carry me on his shoulders to carry me back home.
So they decided to take us home by fire truck. And then when they got to Mamaroneck Avenue and New Street, they took us from fire truck to a boat. And the boat took us to our front porches.
Flooding wasn't as horrendous as it is at present. If we received a trickle of water in the basement, that was a lot. The floodwaters increased each year by feet, 2 feet, 3 feet, 5 feet, ending in Ida with people 14 to 17 feet of water in their homes. The flooding isn't clean flooding. The flooding is debris. The flooding is bacteria. The flooding is feces. The flooding is garbage, oil, containers.
It was everything. And when I say everything, I mean from car parts to raw garbage to feces. It was absolutely terrible. And this is an ongoing thing, and it's getting worse every time it floods.
We had factories in the neighborhood. Who knows what was being dispersed in the air, in the ground, in the water, in the soil. We have no idea. Were they doing the right thing? We have no idea. Were there contaminants? Maybe, probably. And when we get flooded, that water, it comes from everywhere.
You could walk on the water in some areas. There was so much debris in the water. And not only is it from this area, but what also happens is everything comes down from Fenimore Road and from Waverly Avenue and from Nourishell. Everything, it's funneled to our streets, to right here. And we become a cesspool. That's what we become.
The day after was it Irene or Ida? I got diagnosed that day, and it was just like a kick in the gut. I had a double whammy. I got flooded. I had to go clear out the house, and I got a cancer diagnosis. I was told I had lymphoma.
So I was first diagnosed with breast cancer in 2019. And I'm like, okay, a lot of people get breast cancer. But then in 2021, when I got thyroid cancer, I became a little suspicious because my neighbor across the street was diagnosed with thyroid cancer the year before. And then right after my diagnosis, my neighbor right next to me got diagnosed with thyroid cancer, and we have other neighbors that are nearby that have thyroid issues as well.
On my street alone, besides myself, I have lymphoma. My brother died of pancreatic cancer 2 years ago. He was my partner, worked with me every single day on Northrop Avenue.
It was 2 days after Ida, and we had no power. I was next door at my neighbor, Rita, who was just diagnosed with thyroid cancer. She began to tell me her story about how diligent she had to be and how she discovered thyroid cancer. I went into the house and I looked in the mirror, and there was a beam of light coming from my bathroom window. And I looked at my neck and I saw a lump. And within 6 weeks, I was scheduled for surgery.
The other gentleman right across the street from me, his name was Tom Neal, owned Evergreen Arborists. He died of pancreatic cancer. My neighbor who owns the steel fabrication shop, he was diagnosed within 2 months of the same thing that I had. It's something is causing this, something's killing people.
Cancer is scary. I don't care which cancer it is, just the word alone. And so we were upset, but we stay positive. Thank God Rita, the surgery was good, and Laura, thank God for that, But unfortunately, there's a lot of history in this little village that people weren't so lucky.
We have a cancer cluster. We have a database now over 55 people that have 21 types of different cancer. That's my research. My mission is to find out where the source is.
The first thing we did is we went to our local municipality, our board of trustees. We explained to them, our fear and frustration and what was going on. So it's frustrating because we want to get this done now and get some results.
We want validation. We want the source to be targeted, recognized, and we want Mamaroneck restored. We want it cleaned. We want it urgently recognized. But our village is kicking the can down the road and bouncing it back and forth to the Board of Health and the DEC, and nobody's taking any responsibility.
I want them to do a study. I want them to come up with an answer that they can maybe help us with to get them to control this flooding and to help us out.
It's scary because you know what's coming and you can't do anything about it. The village has done nothing about it. And that's why we fight all the time. And then on top of that, all the garbage that comes, so we're dealing with the floods and the destruction of our homes, and then we're dealing with contaminants and cases of cancer. And nothing's being done.
So we're doing this by ourselves, which is fine, we'll get it done, but they should have a resolution in place so every time it floods, the county comes out or the village of Mamaroneck comes out and tests the air, the water sample, what's in the soil, what's on the streets, what's in the yards, and that should be their responsibility because they got to keep the quality of life here, at 150%. That's what they're supposed to do, and they're not doing that.